Have you ever felt like reality bends the moment you stop clinging to who you think you are? What if the world doesn't change when you fight harder, but the instant you stop identifying with the old observer? When the self you defend begins to dissolve, everything else rearranges. The quantum field isn't out there. It's responding to your internal alignment right now. This isn't theory. It's an awakening happening beneath your next breath. Attention itself is the key, because what you observe you influence. And when awareness lands without effort, the patterns holding your old identity begin to collapse quietly, like a wave returning to the ocean. What was solid becomes fluid. What was stuck begins to move. And what happens next might just rewrite how you understand reality itself. When you begin to truly observe yourself, something subtle yet extraordinary happens. Awareness isn't passive. It reshapes the landscape of your inner world. It's like watching a ripple move through the quantum field, where every moment of genuine attention reorganizes the resonance between perception and behavior. Imagine focusing on something simple like the gentle contact between your thumb and finger. The more curious and open your attention becomes, the more vivid the sensation grows. It's as if your consciousness tunes itself, adjusting the frequency of your inner radio until coherence starts to hum quietly beneath the noise. In my own practice, I discovered that what I used to call distraction was often resistance to this fine-tuning. The moment I stopped trying to correct myself and simply watched, the tension melted. Awareness began doing the work for me, like an intelligent current flowing through the quantum field, restoring clarity without force. You might try this for 60 or 90 seconds, just staying with the raw sensation of your skin meeting skin. Notice how the quality of your attention changes the quality of the experience itself. That subtle shift is power, the field responding, reality recalibrating through your consciousness. When you stop correcting and start observing, distortions fade, and your responses become more refined. That's when the old you starts to dissolve quietly, pattern by pattern. And believe me, what comes next, the next level of awareness, will change how you move through the world. What's coming will surprise you. When you start listening to your body instead of your mind, you realize how much wisdom has always been whispering beneath the noise. Interoception is the bridge between awareness and intuition, the body's way of decoding the language of the quantum field. Every heartbeat, every flutter in your chest, every micro-tension in your shoulders carries data about your state of consciousness and the direction your life is flowing toward. You might think decisions come from logic, but the truth is they begin as sensations. The body feels resonance before the mind translates it into words. Have you ever noticed how some choices expand you gently while others contract you, as if your internal compass flinches? That's your inner GPS adjusting its frequency, an ancient intelligence guiding you toward coherence long before you're aware of it. Before sending that message or saying yes to another request, take 2 minutes to check in with your inner signals. Feel your breathing, the temperature of your skin, the rhythm beneath your ribs. Then ask yourself, does this expand or contract me? And wait. The quantum field responds instantly to truthful attention, revealing a micro-shift, a quiet sense of alignment that tells you which path is resonant. In my own journey, I used to ignore these signals and paid the price through subtle chaos, burnout, confusion, relationships out of tune. When I began this simple 2-minute interoceptive practice, clarity started emerging from silence. It didn't come as a loud revelation, but as a felt knowing, a sensation of expansion inside the chest. Over time, this practice built coherence not only in my decisions, but in my energy field, as if the inner current began flowing without resistance. Every time you align a choice with that subtle expansion, you collapse a version of reality that was built on old predictions and reactive habits. Life begins to feel lighter because it becomes synchronized with your natural rhythm. What's even more fascinating is that this coherence doesn't just change you, it changes how reality mirrors you. Tiny coincidences, timing shifts, the right opportunities begin to appear as external reflections of internal resonance. This is not magic, though it feels magical. It's physics meeting awareness, your consciousness calibrating in real time. The more you trust the language of your body, the more precise your choices become. And when every step emerges from inner clarity instead of mental pressure, the world starts rearranging itself around your state of being. What comes next will surprise you. The way noise dissolves into signal, leading you toward the next level of perception. There are days when the world feels blurred, as if your inner radio has lost its signal. The mind starts jumping between stations, chasing clarity and static. But the truth is, the body already holds the dial. The problem isn't that the signal is gone, it's that your awareness is hijacked by mental noise, drowning out the faint hum of resonance underneath. Think of your body as an exquisite receiver within the quantum field. Every cell vibrates with consciousness, carrying messages beyond language. When you feel scattered, it's rarely because something external broke. It's because the internal circuitry has lost coherence. That's when tuning becomes vital, not through force or cleverness, but through listening deeply. I learned this the hard way during a time when my schedule was relentless. I kept pushing through fatigue, telling myself I just needed more focus. But one evening, after burning out mid-task, I lay still and traced my attention from my feet upward. No agenda, just noticing sensations. Pressure, warmth, tingling, pulsing. Within minutes, my inner radio began to hum back into focus. That was the first time I truly experienced what somatic clarity feels like. Try this now, even for 3 minutes. Scan your body slowly, from your toes to your crown. Don't interpret. Don't label it as good or bad. Just sense. Feel how awareness softens tension when it lands gently. Each spot you notice becomes a point of resonance, bringing scattered frequencies back into one still, coherent rhythm. This is how you recalibrate your channel. As you practice, you'll start noticing how subtle this tuning really is. You don't have to fix or control. It's more like adjusting the knob of an old radio until the static turns into music. The mind wants explanations, but the body wants coherence. Stay with the physical sensations long enough and the noise begins to organize itself into meaning without a single thought being added. What's extraordinary is that this somatic clarity changes how life mirrors back to you. When the internal channel stabilizes, the external world sinks in. Conversations flow more naturally, timing improves, and emotional storms lose their grip. You start living inside a field of balanced resonance where even silence feels intelligent, communicating without words. In the quantum field, coherence is not stillness. It's movement without friction. It's the wave and the observer moving as one. When your body is attuned, perception stops fragmenting experience into pieces. You begin to sense reality as a continuous flow, where awareness observes itself unfolding. In that space, there is no resistance, only the gentle hum of being aligned with what is. Your body becomes your teacher, revealing that truth is not a concept, but a vibration felt across every cell. And once you recognize that clarity is not about doing more, but tuning more finely, the chaos of life becomes a feedback system, inviting calibration instead of control. The moment static arises, you'll know it's just time to listen again. Because what comes next is beyond clarity. It's creation emerging through you. The kind that doesn't strain, doesn't chase, doesn't need proof. The next segment will show you how to enter that still point between breaths, where action arises without effort, and the old identity finally begins to dissolve. Get ready, because what's coming will surprise you in ways the mind can't predict. There's a sacred moment hidden between every breath, a still point most people never touch because they rush past it. We live addicted to movement, to doing, to finishing. But what if real transformation happens not in motion but in pause? The conscious pause isn't absence, it's a portal through which awareness slips back into alignment with the quantum field. It's the silence where the next authentic action starts whispering. In the space between exhale and inhale, consciousness adjusts itself like the universe recalibrating its own rhythm. Think of it as an artist's brush hovering for a heartbeat before touching the canvas, a space of infinite possibility. The body knows this rhythm intimately. You can feel it if you slow down enough to notice that split second when everything stops, yet everything is still alive. That is your true center, your field of infinite resonance. I began to understand this during a time when my life felt like an endless checklist. Every moment was filled with tasks, plans, and half-thoughts. Until one day, while sitting in traffic, I noticed my breath holding itself without effort after an exhale. That pause was tranquil and vast, like a small window opening into eternity. I followed it, breathed again, paused again, and something astonishing unfolded. The chaos didn't disappear, but my position in it changed. Awareness pulled back and life reorganized itself around a new coherence. You don't need a mountain retreat to experience this. You can begin right now. Try this. As you breathe out, let the next moment arrive just a second later than usual. Feel the pause, not as an interruption, but as an invitation. In that tiny silence, rest your awareness on the stillness itself, as though consciousness were leaning into its own echo. 3 breaths like this can completely reset your internal frequencies, restoring coherence across mind and body. At first, the pause might feel awkward, even threatening, like standing on the edge of a cliff with nowhere to go. But stay there, and the fear dissolves into resonance, an inner music where the question and the answer become one. I've used this practice before difficult conversations, creative work, or any decision where I felt clouded. More often than not, clarity would rise from the silence itself, not from analysis. The pause became a creative threshold, allowing life to reveal its own next line, rather than forcing me to write it. What's extraordinary is how this micropause begins to ripple outward. Over time, you'll notice that the urge to control starts dissolving. You respond differently because you're no longer pulled by reflexes. You're guided by coherence emerging naturally. The quantum field starts moving with you, orchestrating events from the same still center you touch inside. You'll receive insights exactly when needed, meet people at synchronic times, and sense that life has been waiting for you to slow down just enough to listen. When you practice pausing consciously, you're training yourself to let creativity flow without resistance. It's not about becoming passive, it's about becoming precise. The pause is where the old self loses traction and the new self takes form, not through struggle but through surrender. Imagine an archer before releasing the arrow, still, centered, alert. The arrow's flight depends not on tension, but on the quiet precision before motion. You are that archer. Your pause is your aim. The beautiful irony is that doing less starts creating more impact. Life moves faster when your consciousness slows down. From that still point, resonance transforms random activity into orchestrated flow. The pressure to invent, fix, or control dissolves, replaced by an effortless responsiveness. The pause becomes both silence and seed, both rest and readiness. It's the doorway through which the quantum field shapes reality according to the quality of your inner state. Eventually, you'll find yourself pausing naturally, before speaking, before reacting, even before thinking. And in those spaces, intelligence that doesn't belong to the mind begins to flow. It's as if creation itself breathes through you. From there, your actions no longer feel forced. They emerge as extensions of stillness, ripples of coherence in the larger field of life. What comes out of that silence is pure alignment. Words, gestures, and choices that resonate with truth. And yet, what's waiting beyond this still point goes even deeper. Because the next realization isn't just about pausing, it's about moving from that inner quiet into effortless action. The kind of action that doesn't strain, doesn't plan, but sprouts naturally like breath after silence. That's the real secret, the union of stillness and movement inside the quantum field. And what's coming next will show you exactly how to act from that immovable center. Get ready because the next secret will surprise you. Every relationship you have, every conversation, every trigger is a mirror. Most people think they're reacting to others, but they're really meeting fragments of their own consciousness reflected through someone else's behavior. The quantum field is a hall of mirrors, perfectly coherent in its design. It shows you not the world as it is, but as you are. When someone says something that stings, the impulse is to fix the situation, fight back, or defend your ground. But what you're actually touching is an unintegrated frequency within yourself. The mind sees conflict, awareness sees resonance, an opportunity to restore coherence. Every trigger is an intelligent transmission disguised as discomfort. It's the body's way of saying, there's something here that's ready to harmonize. Several years ago, I began paying attention to my own reactions in close relationships. A friend's silence would make me anxious. A colleague's criticism would ignite defensiveness. One day, instead of explaining myself, I paused and whispered inside, I observe my part now. Then I breathed. 5 slow cycles, eyes soft, shoulders relaxed. By the third exhale, the charge started dissolving. The mirror cleared, compassion replaced reactivity. That moment changed everything about how I understood connection. The micro practice is simple but powerful. Whenever emotion rises, tight chest, quickened pulse, a need to argue, repeat silently, I observe my part now. Then take 5 mindful breaths. With each exhale, imagine fog lifting from a mirror. The reflection doesn't change immediately, but your state does. Coherence returns, and from that new center, your outer experience begins to reconfigure. Energy that once fueled tension now moves through resonance, dissolving the old frequency. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It's awakening through relationship. Each trigger becomes a tuning fork for your consciousness, guiding you toward alignment. The practice isn't about blame or suppression. It's about observation without interference. The moment you stop projecting and start witnessing, the old reaction collapses. The quantum field responds instantly, rewriting the narrative, not because the other changed, but because you did. Over time, you begin to notice that what used to irritate you now invites calm curiosity. Dialogue deepens, conflicts soften. People feel safer around you because they're resonating with your coherence. You embody a kind of quiet gravity, a stabilizing frequency that reorganizes interactions around peace instead of friction. Life stops being about control and becomes about reflection. Who am I being in this moment that life is mirroring back to me? I've seen this dynamic shift even in difficult ties, family patterns, work hierarchies, romantic cycles. Each one was simply a feedback loop amplifying the state I carried inside. When I cleared a reactive emotion, the person across from me changed, or disappeared, without any conversation. The mirror doesn't lie, but it is programmable. Every breath, every pause, every act of awareness is a new command written into the field. And soon, this process becomes effortless. You won't even need to think the phrase. The consciousness behind it will activate on its own. A trigger appears, and instead of reaction, space opens. A gentle, intelligent gap filled with awareness. From that space, new choices arise. Relationships realign, energy flows cleanly again. This is quantum hygiene for the heart. Pay attention, because the next step after clearing the mirror is acting from that purified reflection. When old reactivity dissolves, the self that used to fight disappears, and something new begins to move through you. Effortless action. That's what awaits next. Learning how to move from stillness into expression, where your choices emerge from the unmoving point at the center of the quantum field. And what comes next might just show you how creation truly responds when you stop reacting and start resonating. Action born from silence has a different texture. It doesn't rush or hesitate. It simply knows. After the mirror is clear, movement emerges from the still point, not as reaction but as resonance. In that quiet inner field, consciousness stops trying to manage life and starts cooperating with the quantum field itself. Take 5 minutes of inner listening before any decision. Feel what expands 1% and follow that. This is effortless action, motion guided by awareness rather than tension. Like a farmer sowing seeds at the perfect season, you act in rhythm with the invisible cycles that sustain coherence. From that center, doing becomes being in motion. The smallest gestures carry profound alignment because they're birthed from resonance. Silence becomes your axis, movement your expression, and life, your partner in creation. What unfolds beyond that, well, that's where reality starts moving with you. Everything shifts the moment you realize you were never the wave, but the ocean watching itself move. Awareness has no beginning, no end. It only waits for you to remember. The quantum field doesn't demand effort. It mirrors resonance. Every time you choose coherence over reaction, silence over control, reality reorganizes in your favor. So now I'll ask you, what reflection are you ready to rewrite? Which old pattern will you let dissolve so a new level of consciousness can emerge? If this message stirred something inside you, let it grow. Breathe, apply, experiment, then share your insight below. And if you want to keep expanding this journey of awakening, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications, so you keep receiving the transmissions that realign the field within and around you.